Hello, friends. Starting this July, there are specific actions on your phone that could determine whether you keep your retirement savings or lose them in a single afternoon. Not by coincidence, not by accident. Because the people running financial fraud operations targeting seniors in 2026 are more sophisticated, better funded, and more specifically focused on people over 60 than anything this country has seen before. And the federal government, the banking industry, and consumer protection agencies have all made moves in the past several weeks that every senior in America needs to know about immediately. Today, I am going through exactly what those changes are, why they matter, and the specific steps you need to take right now to make sure you are on the protected side of every single one of them. And then, I am covering 4 other urgent developments this summer that directly affect your money, your Medicare, and your household budget. Before we get into it, subscribe to this channel right now and turn on the bell. The information I'm covering today is changing right now, and most people only find out about these protections after the damage has already been done. Subscribe now and let us get into it. Let us start with the phone, because this is where the most urgent and most preventable financial damage is happening to seniors right now. On June 16, 2026, just a few weeks before this video, the Federal Communications Commission launched what they are calling the Never Ever campaign in partnership with the Elder Justice Coordinating Council. This is a formal, named, government-backed campaign targeted specifically at protecting seniors from the wave of government impersonation scams that have been generating devastating financial losses across the country. The entire campaign is built around one core rule that, if you understand it and apply it consistently, covers essentially every variation of government impersonation fraud that has ever been run against a senior. Write this down. No real government agency, not Social Security, not Medicare, not the IRS, not the FCC itself, not any other federal or state agency, will ever call or text you demanding payment by gift card, wire transfer, cryptocurrency, or cash. Never. Not once. Not under any circumstances. Not even if the emergency sounds urgent. Not even if they know your name, your address, and details about your finances. Not even if the caller ID shows an official government number. If anyone calls claiming to be from any government agency and asks you to pay anything over the phone in any form, that is a scam. Hang up immediately without engaging further. The reason the FCC specifically launched this campaign now, in mid-2026, rather than months or years earlier, is that the technology available to scammers has crossed a threshold in the past 18 months that makes these calls far more convincing than they have ever been before. The specific technology they are referring to is AI voice cloning. Let me explain what this means in concrete terms, because most people have heard the phrase artificial intelligence used in so many contexts that it no longer conveys a specific threat. AI voice cloning in the context of senior financial fraud works like this. A criminal organization obtains a recording of a voice they want to impersonate. This can be a sample as short as 3 to 5 seconds, taken from a voicemail, a social media video, a phone call, or any publicly available audio recording. Using software that is commercially available and inexpensive in 2026, they generate a synthetic voice that mimics the original with enough accuracy to be convincing to the person who knows that voice well. In documented cases from the first half of 2026, seniors received calls that appeared to come from their grandchildren in trouble, from their adult children claiming an emergency, from doctors' offices, and from government officials, all of which were generated by AI voice cloning rather than by the actual people they were impersonating. In one documented case filed with the FTC in April 2026, a grandmother in Georgia wired $14,000 to what she believed was her grandson, stranded in another state after a car accident. The voice was not her grandson. It was an AI-generated clone of his voice, created from a 5-second clip extracted from a video he had posted on social media. The FCC's Never Ever campaign is specifically designed to help seniors build a mental framework that short-circuits the emotional manipulation these calls rely on. Urgency, fear, and authority are the 3 levers every government impersonation and family emergency scam pulls. When a call creates urgency, when it creates fear, when it invokes authority, those are not reasons to comply. Those are the warning signals that what you are experiencing is a fraud attempt. The FCC is also significantly upgrading what is called the Stir/Shaken framework this summer. This is a technical system that verifies whether the phone number displayed on your caller ID actually belongs to the person calling you. Carriers are now required to block unverified calls at a higher rate than before, and carriers who knowingly allow fraudulent robocalls through their networks face increased enforcement action. In practice, what this means for you is that you will likely notice fewer obvious scam calls reaching your phone as the summer progresses. But here is the critical nuance, and the FCC itself is clear about it. The scammers who are still getting through the improved filtering are the most dangerous and most sophisticated ones. They are operating through smaller carriers, through internet-based calling systems that route around the traditional phone network, and through AI voice synthesis that makes even verified number calls impossible to trust on the basis of the caller's apparent identity alone. The specific phone behaviors that the FCC, the FTC, the Social Security Administration, and the banking industry are all now formally warning seniors to eliminate are these. Never give your Social Security number, Medicare number, or bank account information to anyone who calls you. Legitimate agencies already have this information on file and will never ask you to confirm it over an unsolicited call. The only exception is when you have called them at a number you found independently, in which case they may ask for your Social Security number to verify your identity as the account holder. Never stay on the phone with someone who is creating urgency and demanding immediate action. Real government agencies do not operate on immediate phone deadlines. The IRS does not arrest you within the hour if you do not pay right now. Social Security does not suspend your benefits before the end of today's call. Any caller who tells you that something irreversible will happen unless you act before you hang up the phone is using the defining technique of fraud, not government process. Never call back the number that appears on your caller ID if you are even slightly suspicious of the call. Fraudsters can spoof official government phone numbers, and calling back a spoofed number connects you to the criminal operation rather than to the real agency. Always find the agency's official number independently, either from their official website or from a document they mailed you, and call that number to verify whether there is any legitimate issue with your account. Never pay any fee, fine, or debt over the phone using a gift card. No government agency anywhere in the United States accepts gift cards as payment. Not for back taxes, not for Social Security overpayments, not for Medicare premiums, not for court fees, not for anything. A caller who asks you to buy gift cards and read them the numbers is a criminal, regardless of how official they sound and how detailed their knowledge of your situation appears to be. If you want to report a suspected scam call, the FCC's fraud hotline is 1-888-CALL-FCC, and you can report fraud at reportfraud.ftc.gov. These reports help federal agencies identify and act against criminal operations and help protect other seniors from the same schemes. Now let us talk about what your bank is doing in response to all of this, because some of what they are doing protects you, and some of it can catch you off guard in a way you genuinely need to understand before it happens. As of January 1st, 2026, more than half of all U.S. states have enacted what are called safe harbor laws that give banks legal authority to delay transactions from senior accounts when their AI-powered monitoring systems flag the activity as potentially suspicious. The stated purpose is to protect seniors from financial exploitation. The practical effect, which has already shown up in documented cases in the first half of 2026, is that a bank's automated system can hold your money for days or weeks based on an algorithm's assessment that your transaction looks unusual, even when you are attempting to conduct entirely legitimate business with your own funds. California's law, Senate Bill 278, requires banks to ask customers 65 and older to name a trusted contact person and to delay suspicious transactions of $5,000 or more for at least 3 business days before processing them. The bank receives legal immunity from liability if they delay a transaction that turns out to be completely legitimate. In plain terms, their AI systems can now hold your money first and ask questions later, and the law protects the bank for doing so. Here's what this looks like when it goes wrong, because it has already gone wrong in documented cases. A retired man in Illinois attempted to wire $42,000, his own money, from his Chase account to purchase a recreational vehicle he had been planning to buy for months. The bank's fraud detection system flagged the large withdrawal as potentially suspicious. His account was restricted. He could not access his own funds for over a month. He could not pay his regular bills during that period and had to use a credit card to cover his living expenses while his money sat inaccessible behind a system that had decided he might be a fraud victim, without asking him, without explaining why, and without giving him an immediate path to resolution. It required the intervention of a local news station's investigative team before Chase released his funds. That story is not about fraud. It is about what happens when a well-intentioned bank policy, backed by artificial intelligence that is not yet accurate enough for high-stakes financial decisions, meets a legitimate transaction by a senior customer. The solution is simple and takes less than 10 minutes to implement. Add a trusted contact person to every bank account and every brokerage account you own. Call your bank's customer service number or visit a branch and ask specifically to add a trusted contact. Provide that person's full name and their phone number. When the bank's AI system flags a transaction as potentially suspicious, instead of initiating an investigation that can last 15 days or more, the bank can call your trusted contact, verify your intention directly in minutes, and release the transaction. The trusted contact cannot access your accounts. They cannot move your funds. They receive no account information. They simply confirm that you are acting voluntarily and competently on your own behalf. This single step, adding a trusted contact to each account, is the most important financial protection you can put in place this summer. It takes 10 minutes, it costs nothing, and it creates the difference between a suspicious transaction flag being resolved in hours versus weeks. Bank of America is rolling out in-person fraud education seminars across the country throughout 2026. Chase has deployed a dedicated scam interruption team, trained by behavioral psychologists specifically to recognize when customers are being coached by a scammer during a phone call while standing at a teller window. These are real resources built in response to a real and documented escalation in financial fraud against seniors. If your bank is hosting a local fraud awareness event, attending is worth your time. The third change involves everyone who drives, and for seniors in the states where this has most recently taken effect, it is creating immediate and unexpected enforcement activity that is catching longtime drivers off guard. Across 27 states as of this summer, handheld phone use while driving is a primary offense. This means law enforcement officers can pull you over solely for holding a phone while your vehicle is in motion, with no other traffic violation required as the reason for the stop. You do not have to be texting. You do not have to be making a call. Holding the phone in your hand while driving is sufficient for the stop. For many senior drivers who learned to drive in an era when cell phones did not exist, and who have developed the habit of occasionally checking a map, reading a text at a red light, or answering a call during a short drive, the shift to primary handheld enforcement represents a meaningful change in what constitutes safe and legal driving behavior. The fine for a first offense typically begins at $50 plus court costs, and increases substantially for subsequent violations. In many states, multiple violations within a specified period can trigger license review proceedings. Pennsylvania's Paul Miller Act, which took effect in early June 2026, is among the most recently enacted primary enforcement laws and is currently generating active enforcement activity as officers apply the new rules to the state's driving population for the first time. Other states with primary handheld enforcement include New York, New Jersey, Maryland, Georgia, Florida, Illinois, Washington, Oregon, and California. If you regularly drive across state lines on summer travel, understanding the enforcement standard in each state you pass through is worth a moment's research before the trip. Speed cameras and work zone cameras are also expanding significantly this summer. Delaware activated live cameras on Interstate 95 in late May 2026, generating more than 10,000 citations in the first 3 days of operation. The base fine is $20 per citation, plus $1 for each mile per hour above the 55 mile per hour work zone speed limit. Citations are mailed directly to the registered vehicle owner without any police stop or immediate interaction. You will not know you have been ticketed until the notice arrives in the mail several weeks after the violation. Pennsylvania, Maryland, and Illinois all have active work zone camera systems generating automatic citations, and several additional states are in the process of activating similar programs this summer. The pattern for these cameras is consistent. The first orange construction zone sign signals the beginning of the reduced speed zone, and the reduced speed must be maintained for the entire length of the designated zone, even when no construction workers are visibly present and no active construction activity is occurring in that specific section. The fourth change involves Medicare Part D, and for seniors who take any brand name or expensive generic prescription medications, this is the change with the largest immediate financial upside of everything covered in this video. As of 2026, the Medicare Part D annual out-of-pocket cap is set at $2,100. This is the first year the cap has been set at this level under the redesigned benefit structure, and what it means in practical terms is that once your total out-of-pocket spending on covered Part D drugs reaches $2,100 in a calendar year, every covered medication you fill for the rest of that calendar year costs you nothing, $0 per prescription from that point forward through December 31st. This is a genuinely significant change for seniors who take expensive medications for chronic conditions like rheumatoid arthritis, multiple sclerosis, diabetes, certain cancer treatments, advanced cardiovascular conditions, and a range of other serious health conditions where brand-name drugs can cost hundreds or thousands of dollars per month before insurance adjustments. Under the previous benefit structure, which included a catastrophic coverage phase but not a hard cap, there was no clean ceiling on what a senior might pay, regardless of how high their drug costs went. The $2,100 cap changes that calculation entirely. If you have already spent $1,000 or more on covered prescriptions this year, you are more than halfway to the cap at which all remaining prescriptions become free for the rest of 2026. If you have spent $1,500 or more, you are less than $700 from that threshold. If you have spent close to $2,000, you may be just one or two expensive prescription fills away from the point where every subsequent fill this year is at zero cost to you. Many Part D plan members have no idea how much they have spent toward the cap, because the cap is new this year and because the out-of-pocket tracking information is available through your plan's member portal, but may not be prominently displayed in the materials the plan sends you. Calling the member services number on the back of your Medicare card and asking specifically how much you have spent toward your out-of-pocket cap this year, and asking how close you are to $2,100, is the first step to understanding whether you are approaching or have already crossed the threshold where your prescriptions become free. This knowledge also has implications for how you think about the timing of filling prescriptions toward the end of the calendar year. If you cross the $2,100 cap in, say, October, it may make financial sense to fill a larger supply of any covered medications you know you will need before the end of December, because those fills cost you nothing above the cap. The counter resets January 1st, so any fills you can legitimately make in November and December while you are in the zero-cost zone represent real savings compared to filling the same prescriptions in January when the annual cycle resets. The fifth and final change involves energy assistance, specifically the summer application window for LIHEAP, which stands for the Low Income Home Energy Assistance Program. Most people who know about LIHEAP think of it as a winter heating program, because that is the context in which it is most frequently discussed, and because winter heating emergencies are the most acute form of energy affordability crisis. But LIHEAP has a summer component that covers air conditioning costs and electric bills during high heat periods, and that summer application process is typically faster and less backlogged than the heating season applications that flood state offices from November through February. This matters specifically for seniors over 60 because heat-related health emergencies are disproportionately concentrated in the elderly population. Air conditioning during periods of extreme heat is not a comfort measure for seniors with cardiovascular conditions, respiratory conditions, or certain medications that affect the body's ability to regulate temperature. It is a genuine health and safety necessity. And for seniors on fixed Social Security incomes in regions where summer electricity bills can run $200 to $300 per month, LIHEAP assistance can be the difference between running the air conditioning safely and not running it. If your household income is at or below 150% of the federal poverty level, you may qualify for LIHEAP assistance with your summer cooling costs or your electric bills. For a single-person household in 2026, 150% of the federal poverty level is approximately $21,840 annually. For a two-person household, it is approximately $29,560. Many seniors living primarily on Social Security income fall within these thresholds, particularly those in the lower benefit tiers. To find your state's LIHEAP program and apply, you can call the National Energy Assistance Referral Line at 1-800-3423-720 or search your state's name plus LIHEAP to find the application portal or local office for your area. In most states, summer applications are processed significantly faster than winter applications because the volume of applicants is lower. Applying now, in July and August, rather than waiting until the fall heating season, gives you the best chance of receiving assistance before the hottest and most expensive weeks of summer have passed. Here is the complete picture of all 5 changes and what to do starting this week. The FCC's Never Ever campaign, launched June 16, 2026, establishes the single most important phone rule for seniors. No real government agency will ever ask you to pay anything over the phone in any form. Not by gift card, not by wire transfer, not by cryptocurrency, not by cash. This rule covers every government impersonation scam that exists. If a call creates urgency, demands immediate payment, or invokes government authority, hang up immediately. Report suspected scam calls at reportfraud.ftc.gov. Safe harbor laws, now in effect in more than half of U.S. states, give banks legal authority to hold your transactions based on AI fraud detection flags, sometimes for weeks. Add a trusted contact to every bank and brokerage account you hold this week. Call your bank, provide a trusted person's name and phone number, and ensure that any flagged transactions can be cleared through a quick verification call rather than a prolonged investigation. Handheld phone use while driving is a primary enforcement offense in 27 states this summer. Keep your phone completely out of your hand while your vehicle is moving. Work zone cameras are generating automatic citations in multiple states without any police interaction. Slow down at the first orange sign and hold that speed until the work zone officially ends. The Medicare Part D out-of-pocket cap is $2,100 in 2026. Call your plan's member services number and ask how much you have spent toward the cap this year. If you are approaching or have crossed that threshold, every remaining covered prescription this year is free. LIHEAP summer applications are being processed faster now than they will be in the fall. If your household income is below the threshold, apply now through your state's program portal or call 1-800-3423-720 before the hottest and most expensive weeks of summer pass. Subscribe. Share this with every senior you know who has a phone, a bank account, and a Medicare card. The protections I covered today exist right now. The threats I covered today are active right now. The only thing that determines whether these changes help you or hurt you is whether you know about them in time to act. And I will see you in the next one.